All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my thoughts on the NBA season at the midway point of the season. So we're at the midway point of the NBA season. We have a long second half in store after NBA All-Star break. We'll have a good 25 to 30 games left in the regular season. Then we got the playoffs. So we got a long road ahead to finish out the NBA season when we get to the end of the season in June. But these are my early thoughts on the NBA season. So I thought the NBA season has been decent so far. I mean, you have teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, the reigning defending NBA champions. They haven't missed a beat. They're still at the top of the mountain in the Western Conference. You have the San Antonio Spurs with Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and several others dominating the Western Conference right now. You have the Detroit Pistons with Cade Cunningham and company at the top of the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics have been a huge surprise team in the Eastern Conference. They're a top 2 team in the conference without their star franchise player Jason Tatum that's still recovering from injury. And in the Western Conference is a nice competitive race right now. There's so many teams jockeying for position to get higher up in the Western Conference standings. But I do give credit to the NBA for having several networks and trying new things. They have the NBA back on NBC, Amazon Prime, their first year under the NBA banner. And there's a lot of platforms to watch NBA games on. Now, this is my problem. The NBA, as decent as it's been, in my opinion, has been very confusing to follow this year. There's been a lot of injuries. There's been new CBA rules. You have teams intentionally losing ball games to tank and get a higher chance at a higher lottery NBA draft pick. And teams are not making effort on a nightly basis. Certain players cannot even handle playing back-to-back games at this point in the NBA, which is really a bad look for the game of basketball. Sometimes highly anticipated games between two top-tier teams end up being duds or blowouts because of how often teams and players are disinterested in playing on a nightly basis, which is a problem to me for the game of basketball. And there's no defensive effort. Like, players, there are certain players that play defense. They're still good two-way players, but overall the league has moved away from being a defensive type of league. Now it's just, I'm going to just let my opponent score on me. I'm going to let my opponent jack up threes. I'm going to let my opponent get to their shots, their mid-range shots. I'm going to let my opponent go down and dunk, and I'm going to make no effort to defend it. Like, the defensive effort in basketball right now is a huge problem to me. But the problem also with the NBA is the season is too long. 82 regular season games is becoming a problem in the league, and it's just too much for the players. I think we should go, after this season, we should go to a 65-game NBA regular season. I think that's enough games for NBA players and the audience to follow for a regular season. And with the league starting in late October with 82 games, it's hard for sports fans to keep up because you got the World Series finishing up in baseball. The NFL is the king of sports in North America. There's nothing topping the NFL. You cannot compete with the NFL. College football is a very popular sport as well. Hard to compete with them. You also got college basketball. It's just so much going on in the world of sports for the NBA for fans to keep up with the NBA product for an 82-game regular season. And I think what the problem is with the NBA is the league in the regular season only gets exciting when it's Super Bowl week, when the NBA does NBA trades by the NBA trade deadline, and we get closer to playoff basketball, because that's when basketball matters for a good chunk of basketball fans. So again, I think the season has been decent, but these things are true facts about the NBA. And it's for someone like me that loves basketball, everything I just said is a fact. Because when we get to October, like I want to watch basketball, but then I'm like, why am I going to tune away from the NFL, the best sports product in North America? Why am I going to tune away from college football? These guys are the future players that's going to be playing on Sundays in the NFL. Plus, college football, whatever conference your favorite team is in, SEC, Big Ten, ACC, you guys get it. It's hard to tune away from exciting competition. And then, of course, if you're a baseball fan, the World Series is finishing up. Where does the NBA gel into that? They're not really in the mix. They're in the mix, but they're not in the mix of being the top conversation for sports at the time. So we also might want to talk about not only having a 65-game regular season from now on instead of 82 games. But we also might want to talk about the NBA possibly having a later start date, possibly starting in February and then finishing up in September or October. That's not really the worst idea either. I don't know. I just feel like as a basketball fan, there's a lot of issues to clean up in basketball. Again, the season has been decent with the play on the court, but with everything I just said, I think you can't say anything better than the NBA other than a decent product this season. And I'm going to address something else in this segment. You know what the problem is with the NBA product? You get rewarded for bad play. That is the biggest red flag in the NBA right now with the product that we see on a nightly basis. Bad play and intentionally losing is enough for them, and there's nothing nobody is doing about it. You get reward for tanking. You get lottery picks. That's your reward. Lottery picks. And at times, the players show they do not care on a nightly basis. They have shown that. Imagine flying in, if you're a fan living in a different city, you fly in to see your favorite team play. Let's just say I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. I fly all the way to San Francisco and I want to see Steph Curry and others play on a nightly basis, and I can't watch them play. I think that is the problem with the NBA product. I think you getting rewarded for bad play, you getting rewarded for tanking, for lottery picks, intentionally losing, that's bad. And players not playing on a nightly basis, not caring, is bad product for the NBA. And like I said, you fly out to a different city. You see your favorite player play. Or you want to see your favorite player play. And they don't suit up because they don't want to go play on a back-to-back nightly game scenario. And then you're missing out on seeing your favorite player play probably once or twice a year. Their salaries are way too high across the board for the players to care. That's why the NBA is in this state right now where the players don't care. The money's great for them, but the product on the court for us on a nightly basis is not good enough. For someone that grew up watching the era of LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, prime Kevin Durant, etc., this product is not even as close to being good as what I grew up watching the game of basketball of. And there's no incentive to win. There's zero incentive to win. Players do not have to ball out on a contract year to get a big-time contract in the NBA. It's not like the MLB. It's not like the NFL, where you're basically in a do-or-die scenario to prove that you're worth the big bucks and worth a big contract. NBA deals, they're just handed to him for big contracts. You could be an average role player. You could possibly earn up to $80 to $100 million on your contract. And big endorsements in the NBA, you used to have to work your ass off to get these big endorsements. Now they're just handed to average players. It's all facts. Look at how Michael Jordan not only became the most dominant player, but became one of the most wealthy players off the court. It's because he dominated in the 90s, had 2 separate three-peats. Everything he's gotten off the court, he's earned. The big endorsement deal with Jordan, one of the most successful shoes out there in the game of basketball. And the fact that he had to work for a big contract to prove that he was the big bucks, that shows. Look at LeBron James. He had to show that he could be a dominant player. He might not have the success as Jordan, has 4 rings, but had to dominate to get the big contracts and dominate to become the face of Nike, one of the faces of Nike. Now, NBA players, you could just get $100 million or more in their careers for being an average role player or a one-dimensional player that all you could do is jack up threes. My example for that is Jordan Poole. Look at Jordan Poole. $128 million on his contract for being an average sharpshooter that could jack up threes. It really hasn't evolved since he won an NBA title with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green back in 2022. That's just my point. Until these NBA players care, we might not get much better product than what we're getting on the court. Again, overall, I do believe that the NBA season is decent, but we could get much more if we have consequences for intentionally losing games. We have consequences for players not playing on a nightly basis like we're supposed to, right? I mean, that's what we were supposed to do if you're Adam Silver. Discipline these players for not playing back-to-back games. We were supposed to eliminate load management. I still see load management happening in the league. So I think there's a lot of things that the NBA has to clean up. But overall, I don't want to disrespect the game of basketball. Again, it's been decent play, and everything on the court has been good. But I need to see more. I need to see greatness on the court. I need to see teams wanting to be out there and competing on a nightly basis, competing with nothing on the line for some teams, but your pride and your joy and wanting to put on a show for the fans. I want to see that type of basketball being put out, that type of product being put out on a nightly basis. So again, the NBA season has been decent, but we're just missing something in the game of basketball. But those reasonings in the segment, I do believe, are things we should clean up in the game of basketball. But those are my thoughts on the NBA season thus far.